And they decide, they're like, isn't there that weird Sasquatch we're hunting down? Maybe we should use her body. Hello, welcome to Sound and Fairy Book Reviews. As usual, I'm Tina. Today I'm doing a book review of What Rough Beast by William Jon Watkins. This is a book from 1980. It's a classic science fiction. It's from Playboy Press. Ooh. So if you've watched my channel before, you recognize the format of my classic sci-fi book reviews. Basically, I give you a spoiler-free mini synopsis or mini review, and then I go through the book with spoilers from my faulty kind of memory and notes about the plot. And then I go into my classic sci-fi bingo, which is kind of where I have jumping off points to talk about kind of deeper things in the book that need a bit more kind of context or I think are interesting or problematic. Spoiler alert, this one does not have as much problematic stuff, so but it's still really fun. So, intriguing and very poignant to today, What Rough Beast was an absolute delight. What's it about? She is Lith, huge, legendary, mystical. She was given an awesome task and the awesome powers to carry it out, but now she's horribly alone. He is Slick, the largest, most complex computer on Earth. He is sentient and he is hungry, and his plans do not include the puny human race. Their combined quests culminate in the most bizarre hunt in history as a computer tracks down Lith, a creature beyond his comprehension. Only two people have some idea what or who Lith is, but they will never be the same again, and neither will the world. So I'm going to talk about the title in my spoiler section. I really enjoyed this book. Now, it could serve to have a bit more meat on its bones. It could be 50 pages longer, and I think that actually would have been a great thing. The characters are not flat, but they aren't exactly deep. There is a laughably forced love story. But they are fun, especially Hawkmark, the computer scientist. I had a weird little crush on that nerd. The aliens are interesting, and their situation was realistic and understandable. The most fascinating thing about this book, though, is the AI and how it manipulates the situation and the people, and the surprisingly complex approach to how it evolves for being written in the late 70s. It's hard to give more depth to this without spoilers, but if you enjoy classic sci-fi that has both aliens and emergent AI, this one is great. It also has a real attempt at prose with fun metaphors like, where did it go? The next day, Fairchild sat alone on the rock, watching a bigger helicopter land, a broken-backed grasshopper that deposited crates and boxes like a string of eggs. Cool stuff like that. It also carries a very impressive omniscient point of view that the book would be lesser without. Omniscient point of view is really hard to nail. Like Dune is a really good example of omniscient point of view, and a lot of literary fiction has it. But as an editor, I get a lot of authors who don't understand the difference between omniscient point of view and head hopping. And so omniscient is its own narrative style. It doesn't just mean you can jump into anyone's head when you want. It really has to be specific to a purpose. And this book needs that. It's actually really fascinating because you have the AI who is messing with Hawkmark and has his own opinions about stuff. And so you need to be able to kind of see that. It's really cool. It's very cool. So yeah, I thought this book was great. Now, moving on to my spoilers. Yes, the title is a reference to Yeats. Now, this is one of my favorite poems, mainly because I wrote a paper about it in second year university, and I got a really high mark on it, and also because it was the class that I had a mad crush on my professor, and so, so yeah. Anyway, good memories about this. I also went and saw Yeats's grave. It also, so doing so showed me that I'm not like a grave visitor person because we went there. I dragged my friends to the grave when we were in Ireland, and then I was just like, I don't know what I'm doing here. What am I supposed to do? I don't know why I thought. Anyway, you live and you learn. So I'm going to read the poem to you because that's the kind of person that I am. If you find that boring, you can skip to here, or if you already know the poem, if you've memorized it, because of course we've all memorized The Second Coming by Yeats. So, turning and turning in the widening gyre, the falcon cannot hear the falconer. Things fall apart, the center cannot hold. Mere anarchy is loosed upon the world. The blood-dimmed tide is loosed, and everywhere the ceremony of innocence is drowned. The best lack all conviction, while the worst are full of passionate intensity. Surely some revelation is at hand. Surely the second coming is at hand. The second coming. Hardly are those words out when a vast image out of Spiritus Mundi troubles my sight. Somewhere in the sands of the desert, a shape with lion body and the head of a man, its gaze blank and pitiless as the sun, is moving its slow thighs, while all about it reel shadows of the indignant desert birds. The darkness drops again, but now I know that 20 centuries of stony sleep were vexed to nightmare by a rocking cradle. What rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches toward Bethlehem to be born? So, yes, the poem is about the arrival of the Antichrist in Christian mythology. And what I find fun about this book is how the readers at the time likely thought that the title was in reference to the alien, the rough beast. But it turns out that it's actually the AI. And of course, today, when I read the back, I'm like, oh, the rough beast is obviously the AI. So, moving into my actual spoilers, I'm going to tell you the entire plot of this book. So Lith is an alien from a crashed ship. She was here with her partner too, named Svet, whom we believe died in quicksand because, according to all '80s movies, everyone dies in quicksand. Then we have Fairchild, who is a natural photographer or a naturalist photographer hermit. He lives in this national park. He's approached by Dr. Hawkmark, my boy, this computer scientist Dorcas, who wants to hire Fairchild to help him use his AI program to catch the mysterious Sasquatch creature that only Fairchild has caught on film. Hawkmark wants to catch Lith because it would show that his AI program is capable of being used to catch criminals for like the military, be used by the police, all of this stuff. He needs a use case for his technology because he's not getting the funding that he wants from his board. So he has to put forth a proposal. The board says, okay, we'll give you some funding, prove that it's worthwhile, or we're cutting the project. This comes back in a major way later in the plot, but there's a very minor part of the start where Hawkmark has a rival, and this rival really hates the project. See, this is one of the things that could have been bolstered a bit more. Also, it's kind of weird because the man has like very, very long fingernails. Not Hawkmark, this other guy. And he keeps calling him the Mandarin. And I'm like, that seems racially insensitive. But anyway, Hawkmark, though, is not about the money. Like, he's not trying to build his AI because he wants all the money. He's not an Elon or whatever. He just loves the science. He doesn't even want to hurt Lith. He just wants to prove that his AI can catch her. He just wants to be like, I made this thing and it's worthwhile and I love it. He's just like, about that. He's an interesting antagonist because he's not the villain and he's actually kind of funny. So he's the best character. That's why I'm talking about him a lot. Fairchild and other characters are very flat and not very interesting. So the only reason Fairchild agrees to work with Hawkmark is because Hawkmark, on the advice of the AI, hires Mandy, a zoologist who looks like Fairchild's ex-wife. What I love about this is the fact that the AI said this will work. Hawkmark doesn't, he's not very socially adept. And so he's like, okay. And then I'm like, this won't work. It definitely works. So stupid. He's like, oh, she looks like my ex-wife. And he's not like, he's sad about his ex-wife. But then, and they have like a kind of enemies to lovers kind of thing going on. But it's so forced and it's so ridiculous. But it was entertaining. I was fine with it. During all of this, because obviously it's not told in sequence, we get chapters from the AI's perspective where we learn that Slick, which is the best name ever for an AI, he uses he, him pronouns, which is why I'm using them. He's secretly sentient and has been manipulating Hawkmark for his own purposes, which is to take over the world, of course, of course. So Slick, during the course of this kind of thing, creates a clone of himself whom he names Tad, like Tadpole. I was like, oh, it's so cute. He gets all paternal about it, even calling Tad his son, and eventually learn that the AI's food is data, and Tad and Slick debate and do the math on how long they can survive once they absorb all the data from the world, because now there's two of them, so they're absorbing more and more data. And so Slick actually had created more than one kind of little son, but I think he just kills all of them except for Tad. I don't know, because of this situation of having not enough food. So they decide that they need to become cyborgs because that would allow them to absorb more data. But they realize that humans are too small to like handle the amount of data they need. And they decide, they're like, isn't there that weird Sasquatch we're hunting down? Maybe we should use her body. And they're like, yeah, this is the new plan. So now they have a real motive for hunting Lith as well. So the last third of the book is basically just the hunt for Lith. I'm not going to get into every single detail about it, but we learn that she, along with being a really strong empath, can project hallucinations, and that's how she's been hiding for so long, is because she just projects that she's somewhere else, all of this stuff. She does this various times to escape. We learn eventually that Svet didn't actually die in the quicksand, but he went in there to heal or to like kind of like recharge. So Lith makes it to the quicksand. As this happens, Slick realizes that Hawkmark's nemesis is unplugging his servers. Again, this comes up like randomly. It's not involved for most of the book. At the last second, as this is happening, Lith enters the quicksand and I believe touches a computer console or kind of connects to it because apparently she's already a cyborg. And these connections to the alien network kind of Bluetooth to Slick and Tad, and they jump in because I guess the technology is just compatible. And then because they're connected to the world, Lith's empathy passes to everyone, and everyone in like all of humanity becomes less shitty. And then Slick and Tad get to travel the universe. So yeah, but there's no more conversation about them being, megalomaniacs or anything or wanting to take over the world. I think that they're wanting to take over the world is more because they thought it was inefficient, that humans were stupid and couldn't do it, which I mean, true. I can't really fault them for that logic. So, yeah, I actually really liked the AI characters. I thought they were fun, especially when Tad came along. I was like, "Aw, so cute." Anyway, I really liked it. I thought it was fun. Okay, so into my classic sci-fi bingo, we've got outdated science. So yes, in the sense that the AI is somehow linked to things that it would never be linked to in the 80s. Like most of the stuff wasn't online in the way it is now. So how Slick finds all the data that he uses is kind of hilarious. Like the book acts like he's hacking into dot matrix printers and stuff. Like he's like, oh, I got this information from here. I'm like, how? Like I worked for a legal publisher in at the start of my career in like the early 2000s or late 2000s, and they still had cases that were on like card stock. They were still slowly moving everything to online. And so I'm like, in the 80s, all of this, none of this would be in computers. So there's nothing he would have, like legal matters he could have looked up. Even like police reports and like files and stuff were all done on paper. None of it was in the computer. And those computers, half the time, they weren't connected to a network. So anyway, all of that I thought was hilarious because I'm like, what data is he possibly getting in 1980? Spaceship blows up. Yeah, it crashes, I guess. It doesn't work, so that counts. There's no social changes because it's set in the 80s. Sexy female scientists? No. So Mandy is pretty, of course, and she is a scientist. She's a woman in STEM, but she's not objectified in the text. There is a part where she's walking across the field and all the men stare at her and they're like, oh, she's hot or whatever. But it's not the text doing that. It's kind of showing how she doesn't notice them or doesn't care that they're. It's a way to like kind of show her as a woman in a male-dominated field. I think it's not used to like demean her or diminish her or objectify her. So I would say no in the sense that she's not there to be sexy. The aliens are cool. I'll read to you kind of what they're all about. The aliens are cool. I wrote down the page number, but I wrote page 177, and this book only goes up to 192. And I checked and see if it was on 77, and it's not. So the aliens are just neat because they're massive. They look like this. They're covered in fur. They're also cyborgs. They have a. They're just like they're empaths. They can project hallucinations. They're very, very neat, and they're very like. They're not passive, but they're very kind of utopian in the sense that they just kind of want to spread good cheer around the universe. They're not like evil aliens, so I thought that was neat too. There's no ancient tech or generation ship or space soldiers. There is definitely AI and robots. Slick and Tad. He's a symbol logics integration complex, the Slick 1000, the maximum data integrator. So that's not that exciting. I think there's something else interesting. Oh yeah, here's the thing I was talking about before about outdated science. Because computers guided the printing of almost every book and major periodical in the world, all kinds of information churned and mixed in Slick's digestion. But they're not connected to the internet at that time. They're not being uploaded at that time. I have a bit of contention about this. There's no new worlds. There's no cyberpunk. Blatant sexism. Actually, not really. So Lith and Mandy have personalities and they aren't just love interests. Mandy does a really cool part with a helicopter cage. Like they put her in this cage and lower her down into the forest, I guess because of the trees. And actually, I forgot about this. So Hawkmark's rival tries to like jeopardize this by bribing the helicopter pilot to like drop her. Doesn't make any sense. Anyway, she lands on the ground and she's pretty shaken up, but there's a man there whose dogs have been shot with tranquilizer darts or something. Oh, because of hallucinations. So she made it look like the dogs were over there and then they got shot. And so Mandy actually saves 2 dogs from dying. So she's very cool in my book. What's also cool is that there are women on the board of Hawkmark's, the company that he works for. There's only 2 of them out of like 8, but I'm like, okay, that's better than nothing. And there was a really funny line actually that Mandy gives that I really liked. So Fairchild glared at Hawkmark. He spoke as if Dr. March, that's Mandy, had ceased to exist for a moment. Looks a lot like my ex-wife, he said menacingly. Hawkmark forced a weak grin, but Dr. March saved him the trouble of having to talk. No doubt she left for you for acting like she wasn't in the room. The sarcasm was too sharp and hardly called for. I disagree. The sarcasm was 100% called for. Yes, Mandy. Tell him off. Why she gets with that guy in the end, I don't know. Reptile aliens, no. There's no queer people. There's no black holes. There's no microfiche. The male MC is not a dick. Fairchild is fine other than that one part. And Hawkmark was great. I love him. It's not post-apocalyptic. There's no wild weapons or inventions, except for Slick, I guess. There's no racial equality, at least it's not mentioned. There's no mind possession. There's not a lot in this. There's no galactic war. There's no time travel. This book does not pass the Bechdel test. Unfortunately, it came so close. There's a part where Lith and Mandy are in the same area, but they don't talk. And I'm like, no! There's no alien-human romance. There's no derelict ship, but there is a female main character because Lith is a main character, and Mandy has some point of view scenes as well. So yeah, overall, I really liked this book. I thought it was fun. There's not a lot really to talk about other than Slick, but that's okay. Sometimes it's nice to read a book that doesn't like make you angry, because sometimes I read these old ones and I'm just like, at the way they like treat people sometimes, you know, the old mentalities, the old ways of thinking. And that's why I find these books fun too, because, you know, it's interesting to think about what was kind of just normalized even 50 years ago, 50 less than 50 years ago. Yeah, this book came out 5 years before I was born, so I don't want to say 50 yet. So yeah, thanks for checking this out, and let me know in the comments what your favorite Yeats poem is.